This radio show is a paid placement. Welcome to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes. I'm Mark Elliott. Mindy McIntosh, the founder and president of McIntosh & Associates. Mindy started the company back in 2004. Husband Nolan McIntosh is here as well. As always, the team at McIntosh & Associates is really here to help you create your dream-focused wealth plan. And it's about retirement. Can you retire? When can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last? Will my loved ones be okay if something happens to me? At the end of the day, when we retire, are we going to be okay? That's what we want to know. And that's what the team at McIntosh & Associates is all about. You can find out more about Mindy and Nolan and the team just by going to the website, wealthmichigan.com. They put on a lot of events. That information is on the website as well, wealthmichigan.com. You can always give them a call, 877-222-8849. No cost, no obligation for this. They're here to help if they can. They don't know if they can help you until you reach out. 877-222-8849. All right, guys, you ready to go today, Mindy? I mean, are you going to let Nolan talk today?
Every day.
I know.
You guys can just, go from here.
It's really sad, Nolan, when you think about that. Mindy does not trust us to do this by ourselves.
Well, she's given us the opportunity a couple times.
She has.
I think we've done it a couple times more than she's done it by herself, maybe.
That's probably true, yes.
Yeah.
I think you guys are right. However, we have to just bring me in to lighten it up a little and make sure that the listeners are smiling.
Yeah, it's funny. Listeners needed a picture, Mindy, so I'm, when I'm talking here in our studio, my hands are calm. They're not going anywhere. I have to kind of watch out and dodge because Mindy's hands are flying. She's very animated about when she's talking. So I think a lot of people out there listening to us and I would be very surprised at how she's moving versus how I'm moving. And it's pretty funny, actually.
Absolutely. It's always fun. I hope you enjoy the show. Glad you're with us today for Wealth Michigan with Mindy and Nolan. We're going to talk about really retirement, as we always do, but think about it. You spent an entire career saving for retirement, and the last thing you need at this stage of the game is to make a misstep. So you end up spending down your savings, for example, too quickly. How can you make sure that you've done enough? Well, today, Mindy and Nolan are going to share with you some simple ways to help you maximize your retirement income, and you can help make the most out of your retirement by taking these strategic but simple steps. So there's no question. There's a lot of moving parts in retirement. Mindy, I'm going to start with you. Projections from the Employee Benefit Research Institute show that 40% of households where the head of the household is between the age of 35 and 64 are projected to run short of money in retirement. How concerned, Mindy, should pre-retirees be about running out of money?
Well, it's so important that we always want to start with the fundamentals that folks at any age now who's listening, you have to have a plan. So I always say the first part is getting a plan together because we don't know what we don't know. And what's happening is so many folks, just as you're saying, the statistics, the numbers are out there, is that folks aren't ready for retirement. And when we talk about even of how they're going to run short, it's nice for folks to know, well, why? Why might that happen? What are we looking at with, everybody's understanding that things seem to cost more these days, but that money that they've been saving and contributing to during all these working years, they're hoping to then shift and move into a distribution phase and hoping to maximize what they saved. However, most folks are saving in, traditional 401ks and, hoping to utilize that money in retirement. But let's not forget of the tax dollars they'll be spending on that as well. So it might be leaving them somewhat of a smaller nest egg. And we need to make that shift to look at, gosh, my current income is X. When I retire, what is Social Security going to give me? And how do I make sure that the money in my investment accounts are going to last? And, let's work together. So, I really like to encourage folks, let's work together to look at a portion of what you've been saving. How do we make changes either now or talk about currently adjustments for the future to make some changes to make sure that your money will outlast you. And that way you can live what I call the good life of not having to worry so much about that, especially as things change, right? Our health changes. We know that things keep changing with, let's say, tax code and such. So please reach out to us here. We need to look at those numbers for you at 877-222-8849 so we can talk about that shift and what is it like when you're working every day versus when you're more optional in future years.
Yeah, it certainly is an emotional transformation as well. Go from the accumulation to deaccumulation. 877-222-8849 if you'd just like to have a chat with the team at McIntosh & Associates. Nolan, you guys have been doing this for a long time. Are there certain things you see that make you concerned? Are there factors, for example, that, you might be running out of money too quickly if you do that? Maybe we should do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of it, and this is why we ask clients, what is our kind of our spending habits, and sometimes, people are on the same page, sometimes they're not, and that can definitely affect, retirement assets. And it's interesting because we have some clients in here that we work with that have, you would think, more money that they would never outlive it, and they spend it, and they're going to. And then we have some clients that don't have, you would think, enough to even last 3 years, and yet they still continue to live the life that they want to live. And so it just depends on the client's plans. And so that's why we ask those specific questions on what do we want to do? What does our retirement look like? What does those dreams and hope look like? Because that changes Mindy and I's, really our opinion on where we should go with certain aspects. And obviously there's market volatility that can affect that as well, right? I mean, there's scenarios that we run sometimes with people, and, we sometimes bring up the story of Steve and Bill, two brothers, that had, Steve retired in 1990 and never ran out of money, but, Bill retired in 2000 and ended up running out of money. Well, it's just because of what market fluctuations did compared to Steve's era versus Bill's era. And so that's why we always want to have an income plan that doesn't matter on what happens with the stock market. And that way we can control some of that volatility with some of the things that we're doing for an income plan. So there's a lot of different factors that go into that. And then you got the what ifs, right? What if somebody goes on disability? Maybe the GM just did some things, where 5,000 people are now not working that didn't expect to, maybe thought they were going to continue to work. So, I mean, we're seeing that, more frequently with layoffs, things of that nature. So that could be one of these things that, people aren't necessarily, a job isn't always expected to be there, but what if an unexpected happens, right? So how do we have that plan set up so that way if the what if happened that we can, start going into that plan that we've kind of put in place. And so if we don't have a plan, then we don't know, how to challenge those unexpected events, and how do we drop that back and look and see how do we make things more secure. So we try and give people that comfort and control and confidence that they're not going to run out of money based on the plans we set forth. But it really is dependent on a lot of different factors: market returns, inflation, right? What if somebody goes and loses a job? What if somebody gets sick, right? Now there's only one income versus two. And what if happens to a kid, right? We see it all the time here in our office where something happens with one of their kids, and the natural tendency is to do what we can as parents to help those kids out. And so that would be an unexpected, obviously expense that wouldn't be in the budget. So that's our job. Our job is to try and plan for some of those unexpected things. And so, if we have a plan to have that, put in there, then it makes the people a lot more comfortable that they're not going to have those issues and don't necessarily have to worry about the market, don't have to worry about inflation, don't have to worry about taxes. So our job is to make that, more efficient. So 877-222 8849 is the number to be able to try and help get some of those fears out of place and get something more concrete in your plan.
Well, and sometimes even earlier this past week, we might have folks that are related or friends, and we have one household that we're encouraging them, you know what, we still need to work about 2 more years. These are some adjustments. This is how we're going to look at your income plan. We want to adjust and modify for a couple of health-related items. And so just recently, we met with a friend of theirs, and they said, I hope you don't tell me the same thing. Our friends are really eager to retire, and, they're making these adjustments, and they're excited for that timeline. And I'm really hoping that mine is sooner. That's why it's so individualized and customized, because, this person that just recently came in, we're making some adjustments. We're setting in and creating some longevity and doing what we call an analysis on an income plan, and with making some of those adjustments, filtering in and adding healthcare and retirement. And you should have seen them. They were just so excited that they're like, gosh, we can take care of our healthcare here and get our plan and move into retirement. And you'll help us of what accounts to draw from. And they're going to retire later this year. So it's very, very encouraging for those of you that are listening, that if you're not sure, what is your strategy, there's different timelines of how much money you're going to spend in the initial years of retirement and later, and depending on what your goals are. So let's talk about that and make sure, that your funds are there to sustain you, and that your thoughts and goals are well thought out of what's looking to happen. And then what adjustments that we might need to make so should some unforeseen things kind of sneak up on you as well. So reach out to us here, go to our website at wealthmichigan.com, stop by the office. We'd love to be able to visit with you and start getting this plan of action in course for you.
So, Mindy, just a couple minutes left in our first segment. We got a lot to get to today, but could you kind of walk us through that Dream-Focused Wealth Plan, the discovery meeting, and kind of how it plays out in 2 minutes?
So the nice thing with our discovery visit is we really get to know each other. That visit is what, I get to ask you some wonderful questions of, what is your focus? What are some goals? Or maybe even what are you concerned about? So that we can walk through what does today look like? What does a normal week look like for you? A month? Are you looking to downsize your home? Are you still paying off debt? Do you have rental income? Where are you working? There is some tremendous downsizing right now that we're seeing. So there's additional layoffs, buyouts, packages. So we're helping folks to look at all of this and decide what might work well for them. And this way too, when they come in, sometimes they're a little bit nervous about, if they came in feeling urgency from a job that they feel might be unstable, it's nice to walk through, where are you at? Let's do this together. And then we can look at kind of a expense plan. What are they currently spending? Which will help me to know what future expenses look like, if there's a debt load yet. What are they contributing to retirement accounts? How have they saved? Do they have too much lazy money sitting in the bank not working for them? Or do they, on the flip side, do they have too much market risk currently or not enough? Or are they contributing enough? And how are they contributing? Is it pre-tax dollars? Is it tax-free dollars? And we look at all of this in a nice equation to say, all right, do we need to worry about future long-term care? And is there a plan for that? What about, life insurance? Are you losing that when you stop working? And how do we take all of this current income and expenses and savings? And how do we look at that to develop a plan for today, tomorrow, and the future? And then filter into there, what is your health like, longevity, healthcare plans? So that first visit is about an hour. We kind of run through your focus, where your household is at currently. And then we meet again in a few weeks where we kind of do some homework. Maybe you do too. And we put it all together.
877-222-8849 if you'd like to walk through the Stream Focused Wealth Plan with the team at McIntosh & Associates so you have more confidence, more clarity into your retirement and where you are on that road. 877-222-8849. How many times in your life do you think you're going to make $1 million decision? That's where we're going next. Stay with us. This is Wealth Michigan with Mindy and Nolan. Back right after this.
Get started today to develop your own dream-focused wealth plan with the team at McIntosh & Associates. Schedule a complimentary first visit today. Call 877-222-8849.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan. You can find out more on the website, wealthmichigan.com, wealthmichigan.com. I'm Mark Elliott. Glad you're with us. 877-222-8849. If you have any questions about where you are on your road to retirement, the team at McIntosh & Associates here to help give you some confidence and clarity in that road. Maybe they can help you, maybe they can't. They don't know. Not until you reach out. 877-222-8849. We're talking about a lot of moving parts in the retirement world and really how to maximize your retirement income. It's kind of the gist of what we're talking about today. And one of the things we're going to talk about now, Mindy, would be Social Security. Now, I know you've done webinars on Social Security. Back when you started the company in 2004, you spent a lot of time talking Social Security. Social Security is one of those things that's always moving and changing in targets. And, by the time we get to 2033, 34, 35, you're going to get 78 cents on the dollar. I mean, there's so many rumors about Social Security. How do you, approach Social Security? Because at the end of the day, 96% of Americans, according to Social Security, take it at the wrong time. Doesn't mean we're wrong at 62 or wrong at 70. They're just taking it at the wrong time. How do you approach Social Security?
Well, a lot of times it depends because, folks, the average, Social Security benefit is right around $1,688 if we want to be exact here in the math in 2023. But some folks just think, I'm 62, I want to turn it on right now. Other folks get a little confused and they think they can't turn it on until 65, which is actually Medicare age. Others want to wait until full retirement age, depending on the year they were born. So they're no longer going to have a reduction if they're still having income above a certain threshold. And others just say, I'm delaying until 70 because I know that's when I receive my maximum benefit. But there's so much in between, right? So we have to unfold that. So when we take a look at that average Social Security benefit, that's about $600,000 in 30 years of retirement. So many folks now with longevity, and when they're retiring, 30-year retirement, about $600,000. And if you're married, well, guess what? That number doubles. So that's more than $1 million in Social Security benefits over 30 years for a married couple. So this is why the focus of income timing or a Social Security plan is so important. We'd like to do Social Security analysis in here. Anyone who's listening that wants this nice, it's only about a 5-page that we'd walk through. We can walk through Social Security early, waiting, or late. We can also walk through what's your longevity timeline. What other savings plan do you have? What type of health care have you needed over the past years, as well as your family? Is longevity there for you? And how do we make this? This should be a huge part of a decision in your income model plan for retirement. It's not something that you just want to go alone and, yep, this looks good. We want to walk through that together, especially when we can strategize of what clearly will make a good decision for you and give you a couple of opportunity zones and options. So reach out to us, schedule a visit. You can call us at 877-222-8849. We'd like to schedule to talk to you about this foundation of income.
So Social Security is always moving things around, which the government does. I mean, the tax situation is going to change in 2026, if not before. Social Security started in 1935 under FDR. He said, look, we're never going to tax anybody, but you had to be 65 to get Social Security, but the average living time period for folks back then was 60 to 62. So not that many people were going to get there. Now it's still 67 for those born in 1960 or later is their full retirement age according to Social Security. And more people are hitting the age of 90 than ever before. And we're having more centenarians than ever before, people hitting the age of 100. So there is a lot of pressure on Social Security. And I wonder, Mindy brought it up, Nolan. I wonder, I have a lot of friends. I'm 63. I have not started it because I'm working. I'm kind of shooting for full retirement age so then I can keep working and I have 3 years of double dipping, for example, to see if I can be, maybe buy Nolan a Corvette or something just to help him out.
Yeah.
But most of my friends were school teachers or worked at a place that had a pension. So they all retired in their late 50s, even mid 50s for some of the teachers that started right out of college. And they have pensions. And they're like, well, I'm retired. I might as well take my Social Security. I'm like, did you talk to anybody? No, I'm just going to do it. I'm like, okay. Do you run across that a lot?
Yeah, we cross it all the time. And we tell people there's so many factors. And that's the thing is that I think a lot of people just say, I'm going to take it.
So they're looking at Social Security in a vacuum, basically. They're not looking at it with everything else.
Correct. That's the issue. And it's a huge mistake in our opinion because clients of ours will come in and if we're trying to do a tax plan with them and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, I mean, that we are literally saving people in taxes by doing a tax plan, by delaying Social Security sometimes and saying, hey, we're going to decrease our income by not having, you take Social Security. We're going to start doing some conversions or, getting stuff out of pre-tax to help you later, because once we turn on Social Security, that will satisfy your need for income and things of that nature. And when we show them that if we just did nothing in a vacuum, like you talked about, and just turn on Social Security and just kind of let things be where they're at, not that they would ever run out of money, but I mean, we had a client the other day that came in, we showed them, and we gave them the same rates of return. We gave them, just the only difference was us doing Roth conversions and delaying Social Security until full retirement age, or them taking Social Security now and not doing a tax plan. And you would think that it wouldn't be a big of a difference, but honestly, Mark, it was millions of dollars that they had in difference just by us doing a tax plan and delaying Social Security. Who would have thought that, right? Delaying Social Security would give you that much more in retirement for them to pass on to heirs or whatever they want to do with it. So it's not a vacuum type of tool. We need to look at it from that standpoint. And number two is it's going to change. So, clients that are close to retirement age and, getting ready to collect Social Security, it's probably not going to change too much for them. But, for Mindy and I, we're in our 40s, it is going to significantly change by the time we get there. And so our recommendation for somebody that's younger, that's not close to retirement, maybe they're more than 10 years out, we're probably going to say, we need to kind of look at Social Security a little bit differently because you might not be able to collect it at 62. And they keep delaying full retirement age, right? Before it was, 66 and some months, and now they've already delayed it all the way up to 67 for full retirement age. So it is a moving target for, the Social Security office. They've said that there's a possibility that you already talked about that, it's going to be reduced by 2033. That's 10 years out.
And they also talked about moving the Social Security age to the age of 70 is kind of when your full retirement age would be.
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, to be honest with you, life expectancies are much longer. My grandpa's 98. I say it all the time on the show. And so obviously he's one of the people that are stressing the Social Security system. Roosevelt did not implement this to be unfortunately, a lot of people rely on Social Security as an income, and that's not how his intention was. And so that's why it's strained, is because people are relying on it as an income. And so we need to change that methodology, I think, in order for it to last, just my opinion, because it's supposed to be a supplemental income to what you have already. So that's why pensions were important back then. That's why now for Mindy and I, we create private pensions for our clients to make sure if they don't have a pension that Social Security is a supplemental to what is hopefully earning more money on your income plan. So our job is to not necessarily look at it in a vacuum. It's not a little mistake. It's a huge mistake. And it is a big deal that if you just say, hey, I'm just going to start collecting it, I think we should look at options first. And sometimes the option is, at least you know, right? We educate first, right? So at least you know, hey, if you do it this way, fine, this is the ramifications. If you wait, this could be something that looks a little bit better. But at least you know. And so that's the first thing that Mindy and I want to do is educate first and say, hey, this is what we're looking at. We think it's a better strategy. And so therefore, let's look at this timing and see if it makes sense to do it. Now, again, everybody's plan is different. The people I was talking about prior, some people, we don't delay Social Security because they need the income. That is what it is, right? They need the income. So it does make a difference based on everybody's plan. And that's why we have to have all of the details to make a proper recommendation. And we can't do that without the discovery visit. So that's why it's so important to get that first visit done. So that way Mindy and I can go to work and make a better plan for our clients. So 877-222-8849 is the best number to get a hold of us to be able to get that Social Security out of the vacuum and look at a better plan.
Because, Mindy, we know at 62, and it used to be when the full retirement age was 66, and remember, it started at 65, but when it became 66, if you took your Social Security at 62, that was a 25% haircut, and it was lifetime. If now that it's 67, it's now a 30% haircut if you start at the age of 62. It doesn't mean you're still wrong at 62 taking it or waiting till 70 or anywhere in between. Are there any common mistakes you see with people taking Social Security? Is it mostly just doing it willy-nilly and going, I'm retired, I'm going to take it, and don't really look into the options available?
Well, the problem is, like you said, there's so many different options for people and how they claim their benefit. And I don't think they really understand, like you said, the impact of their decisions on other things other than just that number they're seeing every month. The average household is missing out on over $100,000 of unclaimed Social Security benefits because of that fact that they're taking it at the wrong time. And a lot of times they might even be working with a financial firm or advisor, and they are not stressing the fact of pointing out where should that guaranteed income come and the time. We don't want to accidentally miss out and make the mistake. There's so many variables. So that's why we like to offer a no-cost Social Security analysis, because they need to make sure that they're looking at these benefits. And things that can occur too that we need to look at are things such as, what type of tax bracket are they in currently? Are they still working? What is Medicare looking like? And do they already have an IRMAA tax? Or are they not 65 yet and they're looking to draw early and they're worried about taxes and healthcare and premium tax credits? And what about, their spouse and longevity? And does somebody still have a pension, out there that's available? And some folks, Social Security decreases when they do have a pension, and other folks, this is their pension. And how do we create a different line of income to go along with that? So there's so many variables to take a look at for lifetime benefits. And how do we want to make sure that we are precisely timing that for them? So we don't want you to rely on, calling the Social Security Administration. They are going to help you implement, right? We want to help you do the plan. So let's talk through that together. We will go through options, benefits, what makes the most sense for you. So to receive that Social Security analysis, just call our office, 877-222-8849. Visit us on the web. Let's make sure we have this visit. It's an extremely important financial decision for you to make sure that, you are actually drawing at the appropriate time for you.
877-222-8849. And remember this, if you're married, when a spouse passes away, the lower of the two Social Securities goes away. So the higher remains, the lower is gone. And doesn't mean your bills are going to drop in half because you lost a spouse. I mean, think of the emotional trauma, and yet they're going to be pulling back money from you as well. And then they're going to say, hey, congratulations, you're married 50 years. We're going to tax you now as a single person next year. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Social Security is a big deal. You need to get it right. Doesn't mean you're wrong if you take it at 62 or wait till 70 or anywhere in between. But there is a right time for you in your situation. Mindy and Nolan are here to help. 877-222-8849. Again, 877-222-8849. So a lot of people are concerned about whether they even can retire in today's world. We're going to touch on that when we come back. This is Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes.
Schedule your complimentary first visit with the McIntoshes right now. Call 877-222-8849. That's 877-222-8849.
Welcome back to Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, Mindy and Nolan. Mindy started the company back in 2004. You can find out more, wealthmichigan.com. Now, they're going to sit down with you, find out what's important to you, your bucket list items, things you can't wait to do once you retire, and then figure out, okay, where's your income going to come from? What about your investment strategies, tax-efficient strategies, health, long-term care planning, legacy, estate planning? What about Social Security? It's in the income part. What about Medicare? It's in the health care part. The team at Wealth Michigan is here to help, and McIntosh Associates. 877-222-8849 is the number. 877-222-8849. I'm Mark Elliott. Hey, we're going to talk this segment. We've been talking about income and the importance of having income and making the right decision with Social Security and all those types of decisions that we do have to make. The challenge, though, right now, because 2022 was terrible in the markets, only the third time in history, stocks and bonds down at the same time, 1931, 1969, 2022. And Mindy, right now, the number of Americans who are afraid they will never be able to retire is at an all-time high. And you started your company in 2004. So you remember, obviously, the Great Recession, 2007 to March of 2009, and a great run on the markets. And people back then, it was the 401k is now a 201k. I'm never going to be able to retire. Fast forward to 2020 and COVID, it's like, I don't know how much time I got left. I'm going to retire now regardless. Where my mindsets change, don't they, over time? And you've been in it during all those types of things.
It definitely changes over time. And, even in certain years, earlier on, I used to tease folks about saying, hey, if you had a Wall Street Journal and you were playing a good round of darts and you had the markets up, you could throw the dart and anywhere that you hit the number, you were in an upward trend territory, in the green, doing well, and I tease and talk a lot about our children here at the office. So I would tease about, they could play a game and of that and do just fine. And then you come to times where, it's definitely more gloomy, right? So definitely looking more gloomy out. People are worried. Should I delay retirement? Do I go to cash? Oh my goodness, what I've saved, is it going to be gone? So I think what makes us a lot different is there's different types of advisors, different types of firms. And because we work with such a holistic plan, the difference there is a lot of folks can invest money, right? And the goal is to grow assets and to hold on in bad times and keep on looking forward. But because we specialize in the areas of folks getting in and nearing retirement, you have to be more conservative in nature in the fact that what are we looking at for a solid foundation? Just like building your home, right? So when we look at building a solid foundation, it's so important to make sure, where is income coming from? Do we have a solid foundation plan? What have you been saving for? Are you earning enough to hedge inflation? Do you have too much risk, or were you scared and, made a knee-jerk reaction and just went to cash? Who is helping you walk along these timelines? And how do we make sure you're getting at least, 4, 5, 6% returns on average in some things that we can do right now to give you even some safety and some security? So I think it's so important that if you're super worried about retirement, it means you probably don't have a plan. So it just means we need to walk through what a plan would look like for you and what would work in that strategy for you. So you might be looking into retirement thinking, okay, I've saved X amount of dollars. Hopefully that's good. But now you're worried because you're not sure how much healthcare is going to cost. We can help you implement and set up your health insurance plan. We look at cost, coverages. We timeline out what that looks like, even with taxes and income and distribution. So we want to make sure in that holistic vision, anything that has to do with healthcare or wealth care, we want to be able to make sure that you don't have to go to 4 different offices to try to make that all work, make sure that one hand knows what the other is doing. We can talk about a solid income plan. What's going to make you happy? How much do healthcare and such cost in retirement? What is your plan going to look like for taxes? And how do we go from a current stage you're in right now of accumulation and working over to develop an income strategy in more of a distribution style? So we should have a visit to set this up and take a look. If you're not sure if timing's right for you, we can have an initial 15-minute call. You can reach out to us here at 877-222-8849 or go to wealthmichigan.com, take a look, and we should chat about that soon.
So is Haley in 9th grade or 8th grade right now?
Haley's in 8th grade currently.
So that means Ava's in 5th and Naomi's in 3rd, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so my guess is, and I'm going to ask you, Nolan, this. My guess is they won't go to the same doctor that they went to as a brand new baby. They will change doctors as they age. You guys don't go to your pediatrics doctor for you right now, correct? So we move through the health world of doctors because we age and we kind of move out of one into another one. Once we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s, we got something that's wrong, we go to the specialist. And it's surprising to me in the retirement world that people are still using people that aren't specialists in the retirement world to try to help them. And I think it's really interesting. So we don't stay with the same doctor throughout our lives. We move because of our age and, station in life or what have you. And in the financial world, a lot of people just go, well, he's helped me since I was 25 or 35, so I'm just going to stay there because I get along, we go play golf, we go have dinner, whatever. That's not a retirement planner, though. Nolan, can you talk about the importance of actually what you guys and Mindy has created with McIntosh and Associates, that it is a retirement planning firm? You're not trying to help somebody just grow their money only. I mean, it's certainly a part of it because we always need to grow our money. How do you look at that? Because there's so many different financial advisors. I think people get confused about this.
Well, I think you said the two terms there in the last couple comments there, right? Retirement planner versus financial advisor. Retirement planners are looking at a lot of different avenues, not just about growing assets. And it's one of those things that I think the challenge for people is change. Human nature is to not like change, even though that's what happens in life. There's changes. And sometimes there's bad changes. I agree with that statement. But most of the time, if you have an issue with the doctor, a lot of times these people that don't go to the doctor are the ones that sometimes end up waiting too long. And then there's something that's not curable anymore. That could be the same thing with your finances. It'd be one of those things that it might be too late. And you come into our office and we're like, well, you put some things in place here that we can't undo. There's some things here that we would like to help you with. We just can't because it's too late. And then there's people that obviously do the right thing, right? They go to the doctor on a regular basis. They go to the specialist when they need to. So Mindy and I, as retirement planners, are that specialist. We're that specialist for people that are getting near or in retirement. And so that's the difference between us, in our opinion, and a financial advisory firm, is that our job as retirement planners is much different than growing assets. We have to look at taxes. We have to look at Social Security timing. We have to look at tax planning. We have to look at income planning. We have to look at market losses are much different in our view. We look at it as, yes, growing assets are important, but how do we, go through, the market cycles like they are, because they're natural to have them, but how do we go through those and say, okay, if there is a loss, how do we prevent as much as, a loss? We don't want as much loss as what the market's giving us, like we did back in 0809. So our lens is much different as a specialist than it would be for somebody that, is just sitting there to grow assets. Because a lot of times if you're growing assets, they're going to say, hold on, which is true. If you hold on, there may be a comeback. But when you're in retirement, that's a different story because you're starting to use those assets. So that is the biggest difference between an advisor and a retirement planning firm, is that there's a lot more that goes into a retirement planning firm. Now, a lot of people think that, an advisor would charge less money because they're doing less for you than a retirement planning firm. And that's not the case. Sometimes we see people come in and they're still, paying an advisory fee that's much more than what we would even charge possibly. I'm not saying that's right or wrong or indifferent. I'm just saying that's just the case. And so what we look at is just from a different lens. It's our natural ability to be able to look at these things. We make something that's complicated and try and make it as simple as possible for our clients when they come in, so that they have a something tangible they can hold on to, saying, hey, this is my plan. This is what I'm confident in. This is what I know it's true. And so that's a big deal for us. So yes, change is hard. Even when you have to change doctors, yes, change is hard. If you find out you have a diagnosis, you have to go to a specialist. Yes, change is difficult. But I would like people that are listening to the radio to understand that change can also be good. Even though it's hard, some of the hardest things we go through in life, it lets us grow. And so that could be financially, that could be emotionally, that could be physically. So some of the challenges we go through, a lot of times are going to get us better on the other end. And so that's why, my background being a physical therapist, we had people that would come in and they knew the unnecessary thing that sometimes we have to put them in a little bit of pain. But guess what? On the other end, once we get the change to happen, the clients and my patients got much better. They got much better at the end. So that's one of the things that, yes, it takes that initial call to get that change to start happening. I've said it before, the only difference between, a dream and reality is action. And so that first action item has to be for you to be able to call our office and at least get a discovery visit. We talk about it with doctors too, right? If you had a diagnosis of cancer, are you just going to see one doctor or maybe get a second opinion? sometimes that second opinion matters. And so let us look at that and give you a second opinion and some education on where you're at currently. So 877-222-8849 is the best number to reach us to get that second opinion.
And when you call that number, it's a discovery meeting, basically. They're going to chat with you. All right, what are your concerns? Where do you think you are? I mean, are you close to retirement? Are you a few years away? Have you already retired? Maybe you're a little nervous at that case. So the discovery meeting is to find out about your hopes, your dreams, your bucket list, and then figure out where the income's going to come from. Investment strategies. Are you going to invest it at 65 like you did at 35? Maybe. Remember, everybody is different, but probably not. Tax-efficient strategies. Health and long-term care planning, legacy and estate planning, Social Security's in the income part, Medicare's in the healthcare part. That's a lot of moving pieces. Mindy and Nolan and the team at McIntosh and Associates are here to help you. Reach out, find out. If nothing else, you're going to find out, you're going to have more clarity where you are on your road to retirement. And there's no cost. I think it's one of the more important phone calls you can make. 877-222-8849, 877-222-8849. Headed to our final segment with Mindy and Nolan. Back with more of Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes right after this.
To learn more about the team at McIntosh and Associates, check out their website anytime at wealthmichigan.com.
Glad you're with us today with Mindy and Nolan, Wealth Michigan with the McIntoshes, McIntosh and Associates. You can always find out more on the website, wealthmichigan.com. Questions about where you are on that road to retirement, 877-222-8849, 877-222-8849. Nolan, you're going to chat a little bit about GM, and part of the reason the layoffs are happening is Mindy won't let you get that Corvette, probably.
Yeah, I would help support GM if she let me get it, but, I guess it's just not important enough.
Come on, Mindy. Come on, Mindy.
employees.
He's doing it for the state.
they're right in our they're right in our
sensible.
backyard. It's, you would think, yeah. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, this is not unprecedented. My dad worked for GM. My grandpa worked for GM. My grandpa he just retired from GM when, it was his age. But my dad actually retired early because GM did this back when he was 53 years old. He worked for the company since he was 18, and they did the same thing. They said, you know what? We understand that whether it's ethically or morally, they look at it from a business perspective. And they said, we're going to save $1 billion if we, do a buyout package of 5,000 salaried employees. Now, some of them obviously are in our area. Some are not in our area. But what we're letting people know is that obviously I'm very familiar with my dad being in there, and I know what his severance package looked like, and some of that deals with a buyout, meaning you're getting extra money from there. Plus, obviously, some of these salaried employees might not have as strong of a pension or even have a pension out there. And some of them probably have a 401k that they have no idea what to do with. This is all kind of brought on to them. And so it's one of these things that 5,000 employees right now, there's probably some of them out there that did not have a plan prior to what GM has come up with. So it's one of those things that we would love to be able to sit down with anybody that's listening that's kind of near and dear. And it's not going to be just GM. Dow here has 2,000 employees by the end of this month that have gotten handed some papers. Now, some of them did not get a severance package. Some of them did. But these are very familiar to Mindy and I. So this is not something that is, out of the box for us. This is not something that we've never heard about. These are something that we deal with all the time. And so if you have not had a plan in place and now all of a sudden you're maybe in your low 50s or, higher than that, and now all of a sudden you've gotten, I consider an opportunity to make things right. A lot of people, sometimes they'll get these and they'll say, well, I guess I got to go back to work. I don't know what to do. I plan on retiring at the age of 56 and I'm 53, so I got 3 more years I need to work, That might not be the truth. There might be some things that we can look at that we consider it work optional. I say retirement is basically, and I heard this from David Callahan, Coach Callahan, but he said, I get to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. And that could be working or not working, right? So if we can get that, that's retirement, then how about we sit down, look and see what you have, because we can do some very interesting things with, the severance package that people get. We can do obviously some income planning that we can do with people that have a 401k that they're now separated. A lot of people don't know that they can move their 401k. They think that they have to wait until they're 59 and a half to touch it, things of that nature. But once you separate it from employer, that 401k can move. So it's one of those things that we would probably look at and saying, okay, with your assets, what do we want to do? Where's your expenses, right? That's a big deal too, because if you're in your young 50s, you're probably in your go-go years. And so we want to make sure that we're putting something in place that allows you to continue to live the lifestyle you were doing just even better, because now you don't have to even go into work. So that's a great thing. Now, I think some of the things that we're going to have to do, is look at obviously the emotional side of that, right? Because some people are just like, this is what I've done for the last 20 years of my life. How do I, all of a sudden abruptly that's done. What do I do? And Mindy and I can help with that a little bit. We like to, focus on, what are some of the things you like to do that you were doing when you weren't working. It could be fishing. It could be volunteering. It could be grandkids, as Mindy says all the time. So how do we get you to keep doing that, but even more? And so that we can't do that unless we meet with you. So 877-222-8849. Again, a lot of people around this area, we don't consider it hurting. We consider it an opportunity. So let us look at that opportunity for you. Again, that number is 877-222-8849. Love to be able to sit down with you and show you that it might be a lot better than what you think.
So our team here, we'd really enjoy the opportunity to sit with you. We're realizing that whether it's GM or Dow or any of these others, they're hitting some of these buyout targets. Sometimes it's involuntary layoffs, sometimes it's not. But let's reach out here. Let's talk. If you're nervous or if you just want to have a plan, reach out to the team, wealthmichigan.com or 877-222-8849.
Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business McIntosh & Associates. McIntosh & Associates Financial is an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management, LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by McIntosh & Associates are not subject to investment advisor requirements. AEWM and McIntosh & Associates are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. McIntosh & Associates Financial is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by McIntosh & Associates Financial. This radio show is a paid placement.